All right, let's talk about the people who were sent to El Salvador's CECOT prison, aka, at, at best, a slave labor camp. It's very important that we ask the question, are the people being sent here actually criminals? I have three studies or three reports, whatever you want to refer to them as, that is going to paint a picture for, are they criminals? And is there any evidence or anything of them actually being criminals aside from the Trump administration just saying they are criminals? Because that is what is seemingly happening here. And it's just not good. Okay, even if these people were criminals, no one should be sent to a foreign slave labor camp. That's like cruel and unusual punishment. We have an amendment for that. But the Constitution, it's not too popular nowadays. Anyways, the first study I would like to go over here is the most recent one that just came out yesterday. And this is from The Guardian, but it's a Cato Institute study. At least 50 migrants sent to El Salvador prison entered U.S. legally, report finds. So I know a lot of people will just say, kind of shrug off these people because, they don't. There's just this weird thing. I don't know how to describe it with a lot of Americans now, that just the absolute dehumanization of people who are undocumented. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, they could say, like, these people are sent to this prison who is being investigated, and there's so many human rights reports of people dying, tortures, forced labor, 100 people in a small cell with 4 beds and 2 toilets if you're lucky. Like, this is some pretty bad stuff. And people just shrug it off. It's like, oh, well, they might not have done anything bad, but they still entered the U.S. illegally. It's just the mental gymnastics that people are going through to justify sending people to this place just blows my mind. Because at the end of the day, whatever your legal status is, you are still a human being. But yeah, as someone who just on principle is just kind of against, cruel and unusual punishment. On principle, I'm against the death penalty to similar reasons that I am against sending people to this prison. Not only is it cruel and unusual punishment, but it's also like, what if we get the wrong people? What, like, for, I don't know what the exact number is, but we have executed, like for the death penalty, for example, people who weren't actually criminals, who were wrongly convicted. So just stuff like that. Okay, if you could tell me that every single person that was sent to this prison was an actual confirmed murderer or rapist, I probably wouldn't be grandstanding so much. You can call that against my principles or controversial to what I just, or, completely adversarial to what I just said, but it's levels here. From what I'm seeing, majority of the people sent here are not criminals whatsoever. Okay, just want to make that clear. At least 50 Venezuelan men sent by the Trump administration to a prison in El Salvador had entered the United States illegally, according to a review by the Cato Institute. The report, published by the libertarian think tank on Monday, analyzed the available immigration data for only a portion of the men who were deported to El Salvador's notorious terrorism confinement center, CECOT, and focuses on the cases where records could be found. So this is just like a portion. This isn't even applying to everyone that was sent there that they were able to get this kind of information for, it sounds like. The government calls them all illegal aliens, but of the 90 cases where the method of crossing is known, 50 men report that they came legally to the United States with advanced U.S. government permission at an official border crossing point, Cato said in a report. The number aligns with broader trends among Venezuelan migrants, many of whom entered the country either as refugees or through a Biden-era parole program that granted 2-year work permits to those with U.S.-based sponsors. Now, I always say this. You don't have to agree with the millions of people that Biden brought here, but you can't pretend that they don't have a legal status. And yeah, you can't just say, well, I don't agree with the basis for their legality, so to me they're illegal. Like, That's not how the law works. Like, I don't know how to get that to you, and that's kind of the card that the Trump administration has been saying. Like, they're just clearly not recognizing people who have asylum claims or refugee status. They just don't care because they don't agree with it. And they claim that, like, every single person brought here, all these millions of people were not screened or anything like that, when they were all screened and vetted. So, uh, insane. The report says that 21 men were admitted after presenting themselves at a port of entry, 24 were granted parole, 4 were settled as refugees, or resettled as refugees, and 1 entered the U.S. on a tourist visa. What the hell? Coming here for, like, vacation or some shit and you get sent to CECOT? Oh my god. Trump administration deported more than 200 alleged gang members to the CECOT mega prison in March, controversially invoking the Alien Enemies Act, a 1798 law meant only to be used in wartime as justification. The CECOT prison is known for its harsh conditions, and lawyers for Venezuelan deportees have alleged that the migrants being held there are victims of physical and emotional torture. That's absolutely right. And regarding the Alien Enemies Act, it has been, to my knowledge, invoked 3 times in history. Okay? The first one is the War of 1812. We kind of breeze by this in history class, but the War of 1812 was kind of a big deal. This is when essentially the British and their allies came down from Canada and burned down the White House. So that's a pretty big war. Yeah, I guess that would be a more than valid reason to invoke this act, because I'd say that's a pretty big war at that point. Can you guess the next one? World War I. Need I say more? And then the third and final, the last time it was ever invoked, until Trump just invoked it for whatever reason, is World War II. And also during World War II, when we invoked that act, we used it as a way to put Japanese citizens in internment camps. So, yeah, take that as you will. The deportations have since drawn widespread scrutiny. To date, the Trump administration has not released complete records for the more than 200 Venezuelans transferred to El Salvador. Cato's review includes information for 174 men whose cases have some degree of public documentation. Trump administration has accused many of the deported Venezuelan men of gang involvement, but in many cases those claims appear to hinge largely on their tattoos, and that's what we've heard from so many different cases. Many of the tattoos cited as evidence have no connection to gang activity. The markings reflect, in many cases, personal or cultural references. Cato uses the example of Andre Jose Hernandez Romero, a makeup artist who has crown tattoos on his arms that reference the 3 Kings Day celebrations in his Venezuelan hometown. The report comes amid a sprawling crackdown on immigrants in the U.S. On Monday, the Supreme Court ruled that the Trump administration could proceed with efforts to revoke temporary protected status for Venezuelans, ending TPS, which protects foreign citizens who cannot return home because of war and natural disaster and other circumstances. We are going to be doing a video on that today as well, so be on the lookout for that for more detail. The next thing I want to cite here, this is from the 60 Minutes. It's a report from 60 Minutes. And the headline is, this was from a few months ago, U.S. sent 238 migrants to Salvadorian mega prison. Documents indicate most have no apparent criminal records. And the numbers that they came up with are down here. So the Trump administration has yet to release the identities of the Venezuelan men it sent to El Salvador. Last month, we obtained internal government documents listing their names and any known criminal information. We cross-referenced that with domestic and international court filings, news reports, and arrest records wherever we could find them. At least 22% of the men listed on the list have criminal records here in the United States or abroad. The vast majority are for non-violent offenses like theft, shoplifting, and trespassing. Yeah, theft, you steal some, you shoplift, you trespass. Straight to slave labor camp. No due process, no trial, nothing. About a dozen are accused of murder, rape, assault, and kidnapping. So, accused. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to defend murderers, rapers, and assaulters and kidnappers, but There's a thing that we have called due process, and this is supposed to root out, like, are accused, like, okay, like, can we have a court process, a due process, a trial to confirm that before we ship them off to a foreign prison? Same with, like, everyone else we sent there. Because this isn't some normal deportation, okay? You can't just brush this off as, oh, they're just getting deported. No, they are getting deported to a slave labor camp. Go look it up. Go look up the statistics and the stories about CECOT. It's crazy. And we're just sending people here all willy-nilly. For 3% of those deported, it is unclear whether a criminal record exists, but we could not find criminal records for 75% of the Venezuelans, 179 men now sitting in prison. In response to our findings, the Department of Homeland Security spokeswoman said many of those without criminal records are actually terrorists, human rights abusers, gangsters, and more. They just don't have a rap sheet in the U.S. This is what they always say. They were also doing some weird twist where it's like, yeah, they're criminals without criminal records because they're really good criminals. Like, oh my God, how are so many people just taking this at face value when all the reporting is showing the exact opposite of what they're saying? Third one, this does contradict or conflict a little with the 60 Minutes. This was from Bloomberg. I'm not paying for Bloomberg, but so I can't read the actual study itself where they get this number from. But according to them, about 90% of migrants deported to El Salvador had no U.S. criminal record. 90%. So we're looking anywhere between 75 and 90 percent of people were simply sent here and they don't have a criminal record. And some of the ones that do have a criminal record are nonviolent. The smallest amount of people sent there are people who are simply accused of murder, rape, assault, and kidnapping. And that of course, that's the most heinous crimes. And, if it was 100% verified through due process, etc., that murderers, rapers, assaulters, and kidnappers were being sent to CECOT, maybe against my principles a little bit, but, like, I'm not going to lose any sleep about it, and I'm certainly not going to make a bunch of videos about it. But these people most of them don't have a criminal record, and what they all have in common, 100% of them, is they did not receive any due process, okay? And I don't think I finished my point earlier, but this isn't a normal deportation. It is a deportation to a prison, and even a normal deportation just back to your home country, you still get a hearing, like at an immigration court, and you still get to have a lawyer and etc. These people were just black bagged and shipped off. Like, I don't know how else I can describe it, or just how else I can put it to get it to you. Like, hey, this isn't a left or right issue. This is a human rights issue. This is just straight up fucked up. And because, most importantly, when you have no due process, they can do it to anybody, because you never get a chance to prove, one, your innocence, and two, even your citizenship. Like, I don't understand how there's still a good chunk of people that don't get it and will actively defend this kind of behavior from the government. Insane. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.